Now the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg.
Hi, Jeffrey. How are you? Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
That was actually a state secret until just about now. That was a state secret. Thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm running a couple minutes behind because we're just bringing, as we've been working on all day, but right now, bringing to the floor our continuing resolution to keep government open that I'm very excited about, and I hope the Republicans will vote for. But
I wanted to ask you about that. I want to get to Justice Ginsburg and the pandemic and everything, but give us just a little bit more of a flavor of this continuing resolution. There's a big compromise here for you in that you agreed to a lot of money to the farmers. Is that correct?
Well, there's something that I agreed to, a clean CR. But the definition of a clean CR on the Republican side is what we want should be in there, what you want shouldn't, and that's what we call clean. But I was very pleased we were able to accomplish a number of things with the leverage they gave us by wanting to have that what we call CCC money. Some of our members support that. So, but the fact is that we were able to get just almost $8 billion and food for the pandemic emergency food for children in school and child care centers. We were able to get money for meals for children in school. Sometimes they're not even attending. We were able to, I was very pleased, and that is for children in the territories as well. But I was very pleased what we were able to do for seniors, which was to, just between us, the Republicans, I think, made a big mistake in what they were doing with the Medicare Part D, and we saved them from themselves by having it just be instead of $50 a month, more like $4 or $5 a month in terms of Medicare Part D. So, and again, there are different pieces of the bill where
we won't let them know.
Okay.
We won't tell anyone. This is just a kind of a kicked can kind of bill, right? This is only a 3-month extension. Is that correct?
Well, it's just until December 11th, which we have to be working on our omnibus bill. Now, we've passed all of our bills in the House on this. We passed them in the House, except for maybe one. The Senate hasn't passed any. What will happen now is we'll proceed with what we have accomplished on the floor of the House. They'll post what their bills might be. Our appropriators will go to conference, and we have a commitment from the appropriators, both sides of the Capitol, that they will work very hard to have an omnibus ready by to be finished. When I say finished, earlier ready, right, but finished by December 11th.
Let me jump to Justice Ginsburg. Before we get to the controversy about the nomination, let's talk about Justice Ginsburg, the person. You knew her well, knew her for many years. Can you share with our audience just any kind of reflection you have about her life and her work and your friendship?
Well, I'm really heartbroken that she left us. She has been almost bionic in how she has staved off different diagnoses. I think one of the best compliments I ever received was from her when she said to me, it has to be about a dozen years ago, she said, "Since you are my friend, I want you to know that I have been diagnosed with cancer, and I'm going to make a public announcement, but since you are my friend, I wanted you to know so you can read about it in the paper." So I was kind of upset about hearing that. And she said, no, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. I mean, it was a serious diagnosis that she had, but I just love that she prefaced both sentences with, "Since you are my friend." Another episode that I love to tell about, because I think it's so much Ruth Bader Ginsburg-ish. I was getting on a plane, and then as it turned out, we were sitting right across from each other on the plane, and she was deeply engrossed in what she was doing. And then, but she didn't, I said, hi. We were expecting, a mad embrace or something like that. Nothing. She was just focused. And so for part of the flight, she was focused. And then she was finished. She said, I was working on my book. I'm just finishing my galley. I want you to read it. And and she was like a new person. You know, she was focused and then she was friendly. And I said, no, I'm not going to read it. I'm going to buy the book. Don't give away reading of books. Make people buy the book. But it was so funny to me see her. And you know why she's so effective? Because when she focused. But in the event, we have
Right.
lost a giant.
Let me ask
nobody
you.
name who has done more
Right.
for the equality of women in our country than Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was this tiny and petite in stature, huge in impact, powerful, brilliant mind in the court, and even in dissent, powerful, because her dissent in the Lilly Ledbetter case, when the court ruled against women in the workplace, she wrote the dissent. It became the Lilly Ledbetter law. It was the first bill President Obama signed, and it now is the law of the land, giving protections to women in the workplace.
Let me ask you about, so a year ago, you were at the Atlantic Festival. I asked you on stage, that's when we were allowed to be near other people. I asked you on stage if you were going to move to impeachment, and you said it's a little too early to talk about that. Then you drove up to Capitol Hill and announced impeachment. I wanted to stay on the word impeachment with you for 1 minute. You've suggested that in your quiver of arrows to stop Donald Trump from nominating someone to the Supreme Court to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that the word impeachment has been floated. Do you think it's possible to actually use to try to impeach the president to slow down or stop this coming nomination?
Oh, I don't ever remember saying that impeachment. Of course, impeachment is always an arrow in the quiver. That would have been 6 months from now, or anyway. But I didn't reference it in relationship to this. I think the most important thing that we can do in this regard, and I'm sad that we have to be talking about it before the great Ruth Bader Ginsburg is laid to rest. But that's the way it is, I guess. But the fact is that why the president is in such a rush is because he's in a hurry to overturn the Affordable Care Act. And he wants to do that. The oral arguments start November 10th, a week after the election. And he wants to get a justice in there in time for that so they can hear the arguments and vote on it. People have to know what this means to them. Yeah, they know that the Republicans are hypocritical. They said one thing and then another. Who cares? What they care about is what it means to them. And what it means to 150 million families in America is that no longer will they have the protection of the Affordable Care Act when it comes to a pre-existing medical condition, because that's how many families in America, 150 million, are subject to that. What it means to families with children on their policy, older children on their policy, especially now with the pandemic and kids not having jobs or insurance at work or anything, what it means to women, no longer being a woman is a pre-existing medical condition, and what it means in terms of Medicare, Medicaid, and the rest of that. So people have to know what it means in their lives, and they do. And that's where I think our focus has to be. People have to vote. They have to vote their health. And forgetting about all the machinations of Washington, D.C. from the standpoint of the House, because this is a Senate matter. But what it means, and our effort will be about trying to protect the Affordable Care Act.
Let me ask you this. Is there anything the Democrats can do at this point to stop this nomination and vote from happening, or is it a lost cause for the Democrats?
Well, you'd have to ask the senators about that, because I usually do not go onto their terrain. But what I do know is what Abraham Lincoln said. Public sentiment is everything. With it, you can accomplish almost anything. Without it, practically nothing. And what I think it's important to do is to make sure that people have a concern about losing a pre-existing condition or a child on their policy, or Medicaid for long-term health care, and the rest for seniors, and the rest, that they have to make sure that their senators are aware of the fact that they are aware of the fact that they're out to get them and to get their health. So again, vote health. 20 states today are voting. 20 states, 10 states the day we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but 20 states today. So everybody to get out there and vote and make sure that they're senators. Now, it's 42 days until the election. It's 43 days until the next election. And a lot of the Republican senators who are up the next time would do well to heed the voices and the votes of many of their constituents, which are, shall we say, more diverse in some of the states coming up than in the states that are up now.
Let me just go at this question one more time. You've talked about having a quiver full of arrows. Do you have anything left to stop this, or are you just assuming that this is going to happen?
My battlefield now is the court of public opinion. And the court of public opinion, people really know and care about the Affordable Care Act. It has never enjoyed the popularity, never before enjoyed the popularity that it does now. But just going to people's kitchen tables where they have to worry about not only their health, but their financial health as is affected by medical bills. Women, again, women's health issues are very important in the Affordable Care Act as well. So my arena is the court of public opinion. Far be it for me to interfere with whatever the actions are in the United States Senate on this in this battle. But I do think that there's a price to pay for ignoring the needs of the American people. And if I were going to use an arrow, I certainly wouldn't announce it right here. I just got a message. The Republicans may let the CR go on a voice vote. If so, do you want to call for a recorded vote? But leave it up to Steny. Thank you. Steny is our floor manager, as you know.
If you have to run the House of Representatives from this interview, that's fine.
Okay, but I just answered their question. I'm sorry.
You could just run the House right now. It's fine. No. I'll just sit here while you run the House. It's fine. The sad milestone this week, 200,000 dead in the pandemic. I have a very simple question for you. How did this happen?
It didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen. And that's really one of the tragedies of it all. I'd rather look forward about how we can prevent it from continuing to happen. And that's why we passed 4 months ago the HEROES Act that has within it the strategic plan for how to stop the spread of the coronavirus. But the early denial, distortion, delay caused death. And that's a tragic thing because the scientists were telling us what to do. Wear your mask, keep your space, sanitation, all of that, testing, tracing, treatment, all of that could have curtailed the growth of this. But the president said it's going to be a miracle, it's a hoax, and all of that, and that's most unfortunate. But we do have a responsibility, having seen what happened. The country, the president has a responsibility to join with the scientists and us to say, this is how we're going to proceed. It could have been prevented, and that's the tragedy of it all. And you asked about Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the beginning and how much we will miss her and how valuable her life was and has been to our country and will continue to be. But 200,000 people have died. Families have lost their parent, their sibling, their loved one, their spouse, their child to this. The communities have lost valiant people who've been out there, first responders, healthcare providers. Today I was on the mall with 20,000 flags, each representing 10 people who had died, their families, their communities. So again, the answer is science, 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 and science. But if you're anti-science, and you're anti-governance, you don't want to pay attention to science because you may have to govern accordingly. And that is the failure of the Trump administration in this regard. But let us hope that they can see the light and obey science as we go forward.
Do you hold President Trump directly responsible for at least part of these deaths?
Absolutely.
Do you hold him directly responsible for at least a portion of these deaths?
There is no question. The President of the United States, Donald Trump's failure to recognize and heed what science was telling him, that he just didn't want it to appear to happen on his watch, but it did. And to use the excuse that, well, I didn't want to cause a panic. No, you don't cause a panic by telling people what the solution will be, not that the problem doesn't exist. But again, I'd rather look forward. What can we do to prevent more deaths from happening? We have it in our HEROES Act. The funding there for the testing, tracing, treatment, good advice in terms of mask wearing, sanitation, and the rest. And again, it takes money. And also, this has disproportionately hit communities of color. Black families and Hispanic families are like 4 or 5 times more likely to go to the hospital with the coronavirus than white families. That's just immoral in our country. But again, look forward. What can we do to prevent more deaths from happening? And I'm excited about the prospect for a vaccine. And I would hope that the president would not have political intervention into the clinical trials and the official approvals that are necessary for a vaccine to go forward. I hope and pray it's an answer to our prayers, this vaccine. I think we want it to come, we want it to be safe and efficacious, and we want it not one day sooner than it is and not one day later than it is. But we want the American people to trust it. In order to trust it, the political henchmen at the White House have to keep out of the process and casting doubt on the scientific worth of it. There are important scientists at the Food and Drug Administration are blessed to have best minds working hard and long. Even the CEOs of the pharmaceutical companies have said they will not promote or support a vaccine that has not gone through the appropriate clinical trials and approvals for it. The CDC, how demoralizing for all the wonderful scientists there to have the White House overturn the guidance given by the CDC scientifically for what is needed to protect us from the spread of this virus. It's most unfortunate. But again, hopefully, as looking forward, they can keep their political hands off the science so that the confidence is there. Because a vaccine will only work if people will take advantage of it. And we want them to have the trust in the scientists, even if they doubt the president.
Madam Speaker, we're going to have to leave it there, but we hope to see you next year in better circumstances at the actual live Atlantic Festival. Although a lot of people are watching this, so that's one exciting aspect of this digital presentation. But we hope to see you again, and I just wanted to thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to it, and I thank you for what you're doing. I love this Atlantic Festival because it's an exchange of ideas where we can be as candid as possible and as optimistic as possible as we go forward. And again, I wish you a happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.